Good morning, Redwall Survivor. Foxpen here, bringing you another Mossflower Odyssey 4, The Beast in the Crater Top 30 Character Application Reading and Review. Today we're going to talk about The Beast with the Gift of Gab, and we have 3 applications here, 2 voles and a bat. So, predominantly a quote-unquote good beast dominated category. I know bats are sometimes considered very neutral, but in the one book I remember, bats talking they seem to be on the good beast side. And in that book, is that Luummae? I don't remember. I don't actually remember which book it was, but it doesn't matter. So we're gonna start with Sly Speakeasy. He's a 24-year-old vole. All right. It was a full moon tonight, but also very cloudy, keeping the road dark, very dark. Sly liked it dark to an extent. It's hard to be followed in the dark, but unfortunately also difficult to see Sly's favorite sight, the looks on other beasts' faces. Tonight, however, that was a good thing. That meant other beasts wouldn't see his face, particularly the 2 otters ahead. All right, Sly, just slip on by. Hey, you, where you creeping off to? Oh, I'll be spotted immediately, that's fine as well. The vole put on his best smile and strode straight towards the brutes. Nowhere in particular, kind sirs. Any suggestions? The slightly bigger brute, the one who shouted, grunted. Don't get smart. I need an answer. Don't worry, I'll keep it dumb. I'm simply on my nightly stroll, stretching the old legs a bit. You know how it is. The smaller otter shook his head. I haven't seen you around here. Well, I didn't say I strolled here specifically on a nightly basis, Sly said, waving his paws in a circle around himself. That'd get boring quick. Need to change the scenery, you know. Besides, what's the wrong with my being here? Bigger brute growled. There's been a troublemaker in the taverns lately. Stealing, drinking too much, and recently getting into fights. Oh my! Sly gasped. I hope you nabbed that rascallion, I should say. Nobody likes a troublemaker, least of all the drunks. They've already got so much to worry about, they don't need that sort of thing. Bigger brute growled again. What's interesting to me is those drunks are saying it's a vole, and here you are. Oh my, again! Sly gasped. Again. How presumptuous of you! I never expected this sort of profile, and least of all from you, respectable gentle beast. I'm offended. I'm appalled. I'm leaving, right this very moment. Sly turned to run, but smaller otter snatched him up before he got too far. Sly hung his head, and he was turned to face the brutes. I'm sorry I ran. I'm not, Bigger Brute replied. Just proves you're guilty. See, that's not true at all, Sly said. I'm not guilty, just frightened. You frightened me. Because you're guilty, said Bigger Brute. No, because I look guilty, sir, Sly said. Nothing is scarier than looking guilty. Prove to me you're not. Bigger Brute motioned for Smaller Otter to put the vole down. Smaller Otter obliged. Sly rubbed the back of his neck and took a deep breath before continuing. You see, I didn't want to admit that. The truth is, the troublemaker's my brother, Laddie. Well, his real name is Leonard, but we know he'd never have fun with a stuffy name like that, so we changed it. Anyway, I've been telling Laddie to lay off the drinking, but he won't listen. There's a fire in his belly that he just can't quench, no matter how much he drinks, so he's been dragging me from tavern to tavern for days now. It's been so long, I've almost forgotten how to speak to sober beasts. So tonight, just after a few runs, I knew I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed Laddie by the shoulders, looked him in the face, and I told him, says Laddie, it's done. I can't drink with you now. You become a monster. To which he replied, who are you? I'm confused, Smaller Otter interrupted. As was I, Sly cried, his voice cracking. Who am I? He couldn't recognize me, my own brother, so I screamed, I don't know anymore, and I punch him in the nose. But I don't know what happened after that. It was all confused blur of shattering glass and shrieking mouse-eyes. But the next thing I know, I'm out on the street where moments later, onto you fellas. Now, here we are. The otter stood in silence, presumably deep in thought. Maybe. Sly couldn't be sure. I believe my soul-bearing confession should suffice, yes? He asked. They never said anything about 2 voles, Bigger Brute growled. We're voles, sir. We're small. Any beast can confuse us for one. Bigger Brute only frowned. I'm not convinced. That's fine, it wasn't a very convincing story, Sly agreed. But what's important is that you didn't notice me creeping towards these very dense bushes. Before the brutes could react, Sly gave them a smarmy little salute, briefly savouring their shared stupid look, and dashed into the underbrush. So there you have Sly Speakeasy. I'm not sure if he's supposed to talk as quickly as I made him, but I just see this little dude running his mouth a mile a minute. I don't know why. He's got so much to say without actually saying anything. So I'm not sure if his brother is metaphorical for him or just part of this made-up story. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that the brother is it's him that he's talking about. So he's got a bit of a drinking problem. He likes to fight. He may not be as clever as he thinks he is. But he's managed to give these two otter guards the slip. So he's still pretty clever. He's at least cunning. I don't know. I kind of thought the ending was a little too easy. He got away just like, aha, well, what's important is while I was distracting you with my inane stories, you didn't see me slowly edging my way away. I suppose he talks with his hands. I do that, and it can be distracting for people. You should see me do these recordings. It's like a freaking kung fu movie. Yeah, he definitely he talks a lot. I don't think he. I don't know. I don't think he like has a gift for gab. I know he certainly likes to run his mouth. Like I said, he talks a lot. So also this line, "We're Vole, sir. We're small. Any beast could confuse us for one," playing off of the species trope that voles are teeny tiny and very often overlooked. So yeah, it is feasible that anyone could confuse them for one. So like it was a straightforward app. Tells you a little bit about Sly, you know, what exactly he's doing in front of those two otters. At least we know he got drunk and he got into a fight and they were screaming mousewives. And here he is. He was on the street moments later where he runs into these fellows. So yeah, he's a vole. He's small. He leans on that species trope that they're small and we're voles. I was small. Any beast could confuse us for one. That's adorable. I like that. It's a really nice, straightforward app. We get his backstory. So we don't know how he winds up in the crater, but perhaps he gets caught. Perhaps that's where he ends up running into by accident. We're not sure. So very nice, clever character. He's cheeky. I love a cheeky character. I do. He's cheeky though without being dickish. You know, like okay. He's started a bar fight. He might be a bit of a thief as well. But he hasn't actually really hurt anyone in the application. He's just kind of showed these otters up. And they're supposed to be guards, and they just totally let this drunk, meandering vole get away. So it's a cute character application. I don't know if I'm convinced, though. I'm not really... It's nothing special that makes me want to know more about this character. He's kind of laid it all on the line here. But, you know, it's a good character. It reads really well. The scene is set. He really likes to look on other beasts' faces. So he revels in his ability to just confound with blithering verbal diarrhea. So yeah, he's a gabby beast. He fits this category really well. I don't know who I'm going to vote for in this category. This is actually a really tough one. These three characters are all very different in the way they wield their gift of gab. So good work, Sly. Good work. You're in the top 30. That's more than some people can say. So I'm gonna move on though. I don't really have too much to say about Sly. It didn't unimpress me, but it also didn't blow me away as far as an application goes. Next on the list of beasts with the gift of gab, we have Hoober Blackfoot. He's a 30 seasons old vole. The way I read seasons in Redwall is the equivalent of a human year. So if I see 30 seasons, I automatically assume 30 years. I know some beasts have put years in their application. Some people have put seasons. It's all translatable to me. I don't 30 seasons doesn't mean 15 years to me or something like that. Anyway, so here we go, Hoober. I love the name Hoober Blackfoot. I don't know why. I don't know, Hoober. I like it, Hoober. It's appropriately Redwallian while still being original, so. Okay, here we go, Hoober. Hoober tripped along the path as he whistled to himself. He paused every now and then to spit out the dust that he stirred. A hump in the path caused him to stumble, and he staggered a little, trying to keep upright. His pack clanked on his back, and he smiled, pleased at his earlier trade. Who knew that blacksmith badgers could make decorative hangings and candle holders? He had thought they kept to heroes' swords and berserkers' armor. The crab hordes snapped their claws, their eye stalks all a swivel. I booked their king right in the eye and shocked them with my drivel. He tottered to a stop, catching his breath and trying to ensure he would not topple over. He chuckled. Drivel. It wouldn't me mum be glad to know I'm still spouting it. Not. Is that so? Came a voice from behind him. Embarrassed at possible witnesses to his clumsiness, he turned, his overfull pack threatening his balance still. He faced several beasts who blocked the path behind him, and he was disconcerted to note that most were vermin, though one scarred hare smirked mockingly at him. Hoober pasted a silly grin on his face, keeping his paws behind his back, sliding one towards the knife hidden there. Oh, aye, 'twas the bane of her existence, so she told me. Hubert, she'd beller, quit your yapping and get the pears picked, or you'll feel the back of me paw. He chuckled forcefully, straining. Like as not, I'd feel the back of her paw, spoonfoot paw on me tail or apron. His grin widened. I weren't one to keep, mum, if'n you catch my meaning. Oh, aye. A rat snarled, and Hoober recognized the initial speaker. Hoober's pack clanked, and he flinched, cursing the fit that had caused him to trade perfectly good cloth for metal decorations. You know, what have we got? A bass growl sounded, and a heavy paw clamped the back of Hoober's neck. A second paw twisted his, wrenching it from under the pack, and the knife he had finally clasped thumped to the path. Now that just ain't friendly, sneered the deep voice, and the otter shook Hoober loose from his pack and dropped him to the path. Hoober tried for a wheezing laugh. Oh, of course you see. I'm a merchant, gotta protect myself from robbers. He trailed off as he finally noticed the matching blue uniform worn by all, and swallowed hard. These were no mere brigands. We've got, the rat paused, a proposition. The rest chuckled. There's opportunity for more money than a merchant, such as yourself, could make, and entertainment aplenty to boot. Hoober rose, trying to dust himself off. Oh, well then, if it's entertainment you want, I'm sure I could turn a tale or two for you. Raucous laughter rang out. Oh, aye, you'll turn all right, only it won't be tales you'll be bearing, sneered the otter. Hoober's avenue of escape shrank before his eyes. Well, he tried once more, much as the sound of this opportunity is tempting, I'm a merchant, you see. A shove in the back sent him sprawling, and he was yanked to his footpaws amidst jeers. The spear that had knocked him down now hovered before his snout, and he knew he would be given no choice. The blue-bedecked crew fell in around him as the rat lifted the spear. In a tramping march, they ushered him along the path, and Hoober fumbled along, trying to hide his panic. So, Hubert, some beast beside him muttered. Hoober quickly glanced over to see the hare, who was also surreptitiously glancing around. What happened with the crab horde? Looking young for the first time, he flicked his eyes to Hoober's and away. Oh, I'm called Hoober. Me mum named me Hubert. Hoober squashed the memory of the young hedgehog who had renamed him seasons back. Well, the ratty beasts were so confused by my blabbing, them having no talk of their own, you see, and they started dancing around one another. I took a rope, tied it to a crab leg, and just let them tangle themselves up. It were the easiest thing to find their trove of pearls after, and stow the gab, snapped the otter, glaring at them both. Both Hoober and the hare started, and the hare straightened, ears slicking against his head. Hoober had caught a gleam of curiosity in the young thing's eyes, however. He smiled inwardly. Perhaps all was not lost, after all. So there you go, you have Hoober. I didn't really like that last sentence that I ended on. Perhaps all was not lost after all. You've used all twice there. And to me, that's just a little redundant. It could have been written better. But, perhaps you're just scrambling to find a way to conclude this application to, let everyone know that, well, maybe this young hare might be a little, I don't want to say maybe manipulatable, but maybe Hoober can persuade him to be on his side and throw him a hand. Also, there's some inconsistency in this application. When Hoober originally sees the band that's accosting him, he notes that there's only one scarred hare, but there's also an otter right off the bat with a big bass voice and heavy paws, and he's kind of an assaulting jerk, actually. He twists Hoober's hand until he drops his knife. I think Hoober is a legitimate merchant, unlike Sly Speakeasy. Hoober had traded with the with the badger's cloth for metal decoration. So, he's a good beast, and he has a gab, and he gets up to some mischief. There's this crab horde that snaps their claws. I like the little ditty, by the way. The crab horde snap their claws, their eye stalks all a swivel. I bopped their king right in the eye and shocked them with my drivel. That's a song you can drink to, so I like that. There's some notion that he's a legitimate merchant, like I'm saying. He carries his knife and he only brings it out when he thinks he's about to get robbed. Why this teeny tiny vole travels alone rather than with someone else, I don't know. There's no way a vole could take on a group of beasts like the rat, the otter, and the hare are all in. Their blue uniforms, I don't know. Are they U-Guard? Are they like early U-Guard? Or is this just like a gang uniform, or like their horde outfit? Maybe they actually have the budget for a uniform. I'm not sure. So there's a few unanswered questions here. Not sure if these brigands are taking Hoover, like they're press ganging him into the crater with actual authority, or if they're just selling him into bondage in the crater. I am a little more interested in Hoober than I was Sly. Like, I am curious, like, a little bit, like, how did he get into this crab horde where he had to, like, catch crab legs and tie them together? That's kind of an interesting story, and I wonder, he's probably got more of those. So he uses his Gift of Gab, I think, more realistically than Sly, but at the same time, he's not as effective as Sly was. His talking, it helped with the crabs because they don't actually have their language of their own. They're probably not even mentally intelligible creatures. They're Hoober, he does, however, kind of get his Gift of Gab gives him a chance, like with this young hare who's asking him about the crabs in the end, and so maybe this Gift of Gab will come in handy. Or, if Hoober, you get into the crater, you're going to really have to step it up with the talking and the actual gift of Hoober's Gab. Because in this particular application, it didn't actually do him any good. We just know that he can talk, and he always seems to have something to say. But then again, he doesn't say too much. He keeps insisting that he's a merchant, and please don't press gang me. I'm a merchant, you see. I'm a merchant. But it doesn't work. So his Gab really isn't a gift in the application. I'm not seeing it. I've seen potential at the end for a story that could do well in the crater. So congratulations, Hoober, on getting into the top 30. I'm gonna move on a little bit. We have up next, we have Bechtel. Is it Bechtel or Bechtel? I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna say Bechtel because that rolls off the tongue a little easier for the sake of reading this. He's a Vesper bat, and so he's our second bat in the competition. Callie was the other bat from the Silly Beasts competition. She wasn't a Vesper bat, though. She's a fox bat. I can't say I know what a Vesper bat is. I know what a fox bat is. I know I know fox bats are enormous for bats. They're actually really, really big. They're called flying foxes, right? Not just because of their ears and their orange fur, but they're ginormous. Vesper bats, I don't know if that's the same thing as the evening bat. Or the evening bat, we also call them common bats. And I'm actually just going to take a minute to Wikipedia Vesper bat. Okay. Vesper bats, also known as evening bats or common bats, are the largest and best known family of bats. I think I read this page for an assignment in school, which is why I knew evening bats and common bats are the same thing. Vesper bats belong to the suborder Microchiroptera, over 300 species are distributed all over the world on every continent except Antarctica. It owes its name to the Latin word vespertilio, bat from vesper, meaning evening. Okay, whatever. So they're microbats. They're really small, I'm assuming. So it'd be interesting to see the vesper bat standing next to the fox bat. Just, I think maybe they could build a kind of character bond based on that they're bats. They're both flying beasts in a gladiator competition, but the size difference might also make them either resent or be wary of each other. Anyways, so here we go. We have Bechtel. I personally guarantee it. One sniff and your sniffles will sniff their last breath. To prove it, Bechtel held the sap-soaked stick up to his nostrils and inhaled deeply. The fragrance of pine, the richness of cured honey, and the buzzing of something growing very loud. Bechtel dropped the stick and doubled over, snorting violently and smacking at the vandal pillaging the soft innards of his nostrils. After a second that lasted far too long, the foal absconded back into the sky, issuing forth a mocking buzz. "Away with you, foul-winged demon!" Bechtel shouted at the fly, watching the stupid little creature meander its way deeper into the village to torment some other poor soul. Bechtel paid no mind to the stares of the surrounding woodlanders as he tucked his winged arms to his side, bent down, and squinted at the blurry floor. Now, where did you go?" Past the blur that still clouded his eyes, Bechtel saw the thousands of cobblestone pebbles, the watermelon seeds a flutter's distance away trailing deeper into town, the inchworms whose movement echoed just beneath the topsoil. Bechtel frowned, reached into the fog, and plucked the incense stick up, and looked at the half that dangled by a fiver. "The boss won't like this," he muttered, tossing it onto a pile of other broken mishaps. "You still trying to pull off your Egypt beaster's burbles?" Bechtel's frown deepened. He rotated his head 90 degrees to rest his narrowed eyes upon the approaching blur of velvety-furred malevolence. "Gurry," he growled, frowning yet deeper as the mole's particularly poorly bred features came to his mind. Everywhere Gurry went, trouble followed, and a mile long of false promises and broken trinkets. "That be my name," Gurry said with a proud swagger of his blubber's girth and a tug of his breckus-covered snout. "I'll have you know, the boss is a brilliant inventor," Bechtel said with a swing of an incense stick. "And also that this is also my spot to sell, so—" Bechtel fluttered the tips of his wings at Gurry. The mole squinted. Bechtel fluttered his wingtips again, accentuating the dip and shove motion. The mole blinked. "So go away!" Gurry, instead of responding in any sensible fashion, set his box of goods down and began to remove them. "What are you doing?" Bechtel screamed, horror increasing upon seeing just how many bottles and vials and things the mole brought along. "You're my loud, annoying little mousy bird, boy," Gurry rumbled as he continued to set out his wares. "No, I won't stand for this. You're a fiend of dubious character, diabolical ways, and devilishly dry pastries." Gurry turned to face the crowd. "Come on. Exportrants to healing properties of Gurry's ginner wide outer roll." Bechtel snatched two of the sticks and held them up. "If you would like to slather snake spit over your fur, then I agree. But for more decent beasts, only these will cure those summer sniffles." "Sniffing for flowers when I drop all this will fix your spine, fingers, and foggy eyesight." "Well, these can cure everyday aches and pains. Otter oil can even cure joint itch fever." Bechtel's jaw hung loose. Before he could sputter out a reply, a small, strained voice spoke up. "Is that true?" Bechtel saw the blurry form of a mousemaid standing near Gurry. "Sure it is. It's a few drops down the hatch." "Liar," Bechtel whispered, loud enough to see. The damp handkerchief clutched in the mousemaid's quivering paw, the puffiness in her eyes, the tenuous hope as she reached to pay for the bottle. "Liar!" Bechtel screamed, tackling Gurry to the ground. The two beasts tumbled for several feet before coming to a stop, Bechtel pinning the mole down. "How dare you! How could you!" he snapped, shoving the mole against the ground several times. "Not this time! I won't stand by and let you hurt someone this time!" For the first time, he noticed how hard Guri shook in his grip, how tightly he grasped the mole, and how much blood streamed out onto the cobblestone. Bechtel stumbled back onto his feet. I didn't... He saw all the stares directed his way, and his gaze stopped when he looked at the mousemaid. Her features blurred as the echoes diminished around him, but he saw her expression clearly. The horror, the fear, the hatred, things he had seen before. Bechtel launched himself outward, flying into the blurred, featureless, unwatching sky. So there's Bechtel, and once again, Bechtel, I really hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Sorry if I'm not. Sorry. So Bechtel, obviously, he's, he thinks, he likes his job. We'll say that. He likes his job. He believes in the products that he's sniffing. He actually, takes a huff off the pine, cured honey, and bee incense stick. He's very much against this other merchant Guri selling literally snake oil to people and claiming that it cures dried itch fever, which is something that's really bad in Redwall. It's probably the equivalent of scarlet fever, I guess, in our real life world here on the other side. Bechtel, he leans on this, once again, another species trope, kind of like Sly Speakeasy did with the whole where Voles were teeny tiny. Obviously, you'd mistake two for one. Well, Bechtel's a bat, and he has echolocation. But instead of screaming and screeching like Kali does in her singing, in the Silly Beast category, Bechtel just talks. And the sound bounces around everything, and that's how he gets his imagery. Don't know how that's going to work in the crater. Probably you could just ignore it, that whole shtick, because the crater's very popular. Beasts are going to be screaming all the time. There's going to be sound going everywhere. He probably won't even have to worry about it. You could gag this bat and he'd probably still see even better than anyone else. He sees inchworms underneath the topsoil. He sees a trail of watermelon seeds amongst thousands of cobblestones. So his sight's pretty good if he gets it going. This is a really interesting character. I'm not sure what happens at the end there. Does he maim Guri in his anger, or does he accidentally kill Guri? Because it says here, the horror, the fear, the hatred. If someone assaulted somebody because he was like, no, you're being a conniving jerk, I'm not going to let you swindle this poor mousemaid. But then the mousemaid, she's looking at him with hatred and horror and fear. So that to me makes me think that Bechtel accidentally killed Guri, and he's shaking in Guri's grip, possibly because he's gone into shock, or he's in agonizing pain, or maybe he's just horrified because he sees death coming for him. Not sure. So yeah, I didn't have any trouble picking up on the echolocation shtick. It's true to the species, so it's not gimmicky. I'm not going to say it's gimmicky. I just think that once you're in the arena, it's not going to be relevant. The other bat didn't mention anything about echolocation. I'm not sure fox bats actually echolocate. Do all bats echolocate? Further research must be done. But through the echolocation, there's a lot of details, the watermelon seeds, the inchworms, just the expressions on people's faces, how they look at him. So it's an interesting application. Definitely using what you got, and if you have a bat, then you got echolocation. Good old mole speak in there. Guri's no Strathcombe Piccadilly, but the mole speak is pretty consistent, at least, right? It sounds like mole, and really, when you're speaking with a phonetic accent like mole speak, who cares? There's no real grammar rules. What are those? Bechtel's pretty good. I like this application. It's well-rounded. I don't really think... Oh, that's something I wanted to mention about Hoober, too. The whole hedgehog changing his name. This whole thing with Bechtel having this little spat with the bee, it does really nothing except set Bechtel up as kind of a silly fool almost. Like he inhales, and I don't know, maybe it's because he didn't see the bee that he huffs it up, but like when your sight is based on sound, that buzzing should have probably given away that there was a bee there. So I don't think the whole thing was necessary. You could have used that space more for characterization rather than just making Bechtel look cute and setting up a cute scene. But he's still an interesting character. Like, I want to know if he killed Guri or if he just maimed Guri at the end there, because that honestly it bothers me that I don't know. It bothers me that I can't tell. It's not obvious enough, and it really should be. Like, is Bechtel fleeing because he just committed assault, or did he commit murder, you know? Like, this could all play very heavily into how he gets into the crater. Anyway, so, yeah, once again, Bechtel, he's not a blabbermouth, like, he's not a blithering fool like Sly. He's not a blabbermouth like Hoober. But his Gift of Gab is echolocation. I thought that was really interesting.